motorcycle. Yo, so today I'm doing something a little different to the usual videos I make. I decided it would be interesting if I change things up a little. I'm gonna start trying to take a bit of a vloggier approach to a few of the videos I make. So what better way to kick things off than to talk about 5 things I love about my Integra. Number 5. I love the fact that it's a hatchback. Now, before I settled on the Integra, I was looking at cars like the Liberty, the Impreza, the Nissan Pulsar. Now, these are all hatchbacks or wagons, and I don't know what it is about them that appeals to me, but I can't get enough of them. To be honest, I really can't tell you why. It's complicated. I love the fact that even though this car's a sporty little two-door, it still has a sense of versatility and functionality to it. Once you fold down those back seats, you can basically fit half your house in this car. It was something I was looking for in the cars I was choosing from before actually buying this. So I'm really glad that this turned out to be a hatch, even though it's not necessarily the most practical car in the universe. Number 4. The affordability, the simplicity, and the reliability of this Integra. My goodness, it's no secret that most Hondas are considered reliable. I've had no issues with this car except for a slave cylinder that went out on me. Now this car is nearly 20 years of age and it is still going so strong. Now naturally a car of this age does require a few pieces of maintenance here and there, and a few parts do need replacing. However, if you take good care of this Integra, it'll take good care of you, and that's that. I don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money to get this car up and running if anything goes wrong, which it rarely ever does. The car itself is really basic, and I think that's a pretty common theme with most Hondas from that era. Like, you know, the Civic, the Prelude, the Integra. It's great because when I make those videos of me poorly installing modifications on my car, I really don't know what I'm doing. And the Honda's perfect for someone like myself. No mechanical experience, and this is my first car, so I'm not willing to do crazy engine work and dump in thousands and thousands of dollars worth of modifications as of yet. It's not serious. It's just something that I can learn on. The bottom line is, this car's reliable, it's affordable, and it's really easy to work on. It's got a huge aftermarket support, so parts are relatively cheap. It's Japanese, so it's not going to cost a fortune to get fixed, unlike had if I gone for a BMW, an Audi, or an old Mercedes kind of thing. Number 3, the noise. This car, there's no denying that in its bone stock format is pretty quiet. That's from the outside though. As someone who's been driving his dad's Astra for the past 2 years, you know, I've become accustomed to the sound of tires against road, that's it. And then I bought this. The Integra has very little in terms of sound deadening. Honda didn't try and make it a cushy commuter car, and I love it because it's not just something you feel while driving, you can hear it. And sound plays a huge part in the driving experience, in my opinion. Because of its high revving, high compression engine, Hondas have this really distinct sound when they get up to the high RPMs. They're almost as distinct as the Boxer rumble, and although they're a little more subtle than the obnoxious rumble, which I do love by the way, you can still identify it from a kilometer down the street if it's got an exhaust on it. It just forces you to downshift and floor it through the twisties. Number 2, the engine. So this Honda Integra, the VTIR, is home to the marvelous B18 C2. It's a 1.8 litre 4-pot block of pure VTEC fury. The thing's insane. Look, it's nothing special. With a humble 125 kilowatts from the factory, so that was 20 years ago, and like 180 something newton meters of torque, I think. It's not really astounding, to say the least. And you know what? That's okay, because the Honda Integra wasn't designed to drag race a Holden Commodore down at your local strip. So the engine specs may not necessarily be anything special, but revving all the way to 8,000 in a car that your average P-plater can afford, now that is special. The Astra redlines at around 5,600 or 6,000 RPM. So you can imagine my face when I hit 6,000 in this and hadn't even reached peak torque or power yet. And because all of its power, all of its torque is up high, you're encouraged to keep your rev range, sitting at around 6,000 to 8,000. And it's smooth. You don't feel like you're torturing your car at all. The engine was built to be revved that high, and it makes you feel good doing so. You just have to downshift and floor it. That's why Honda Racers get their brand name, I guess. Just listen to it. Doesn't have huge power figures or crazy torque specs, but it really does get the job done. Number one. Now, this probably isn't just my number one. If you ask any Integra owner out there, you'll probably get a very similar answer. The handling. Alright, so we've already established that on the straights, this car isn't anything overwhelming. Throw a corner into the mix and you've got yourself a machine worthy of recognition. From the factory, this car's pretty low. You've got a low center of gravity, even the driver's seats, which aren't adjustable height-wise, are located really low. You can't tell because the wheel gap is absolutely massive straight out of the factory, which is why you basically need to lower it if you want something decent looking. But the point is the car itself is actually still low. So from the factory, we're still talking very minimal body roll and fantastic handling overall. And then I got coilovers and new tires, and you're just introduced to a whole new world. It's exhilarating, keeping the car at 6,000 RPM, flying through a corner. There's no doubt about it, that's exciting. But in a car like this, where the handling is the primary focus, not only do you get that sense of thrill and adrenaline, but you also feel secure taking a corner, and that's huge, because it means you can tackle that corner knowing well and truly that you're gonna make it out alive. It's just such a well-balanced car. Yeah, it is a front-wheel drive, which means it is prone to understeer, but once you've got good grip, good suspension, that's drastically reduced, and understeer isn't as bad, obviously. So the car basically is a mountain warrior. It's affordable, it's fun, it's forgiving, it's easy to work on, somewhat practical with the hatchback. Now, this video probably just sounds like a Honda fanboy running his mouth, and that's what it is. But the point is, the VTIR is raw, it's uncivilized, it's unrefined, and in all honesty, that repulses many people out there. However, for me, it makes it irresistible. And that's what I love about the Honda Integra.